Here's part one of the story in approximately 800 words, written in third person with simple basic English. The wind blew cold across the small industrial town of Manchester, carrying with it the weight of Thomas Williams' broken dreams. At 35, he had become a ghost of his former self, a man who once believed in possibilities, now reduced to a shadow walking through life's margins. Every morning, Thomas would wake up in his tiny apartment, the silence echoing louder than any sound could. Photographs of his past life were hidden away in a drawer. Memories of a happier time when he was married, when hope seemed like a constant companion. His wife had left 2 years ago, taking with her the last remnants of joy he thought he would ever know. The factory where he had worked for 15 years had closed down suddenly, leaving him without a job and with mounting bills. His savings were quickly disappearing, and each day felt like a battle against invisible demons of uncertainty and fear. On this particular October morning, Thomas decided to take a walk through the local park. It was his way of escaping the suffocating walls of his apartment. The park was quiet, with fallen leaves creating a golden carpet beneath his tired feet. He walked slowly, hands deep in his worn-out jacket pockets, lost in thoughts of what could have been. That's when he saw her, a small girl sitting alone on a wooden bench. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, her thin frame looking fragile against the grey morning. Her eyes were fixed on the ground, and her cheeks were wet with tears that seemed to have been falling for a long time. Something stirred inside Thomas. It wasn't pity, but a deeper understanding of loneliness. He recognized in her the same emptiness he felt in his own heart. Slowly, he approached her, careful not to startle her. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle and soft. The girl looked up, her big brown eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. She was wearing a jacket that was clearly too thin for the cold morning, and her shoes were worn out at the edges. "I'm Emily," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas sat down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. He noticed her hands were shaking slightly, not just from the cold, but from something deeper, perhaps fear or uncertainty. As they sat together, Emily slowly began to share her story. She was a foster child, passed between different homes, never truly feeling like she belonged anywhere. Today, she had been accidentally left behind during a transfer between social services, forgotten like an old piece of furniture. Thomas listened. He understood what it felt like to be forgotten, to be left behind. His own life had become a testament to unexpected abandonment. Yet, something about this young girl's resilience touched him deeply. The park around them seemed to fade into the background. An old man walking his dog, children playing in the distant playground, the rustling of autumn leaves, all became secondary to this unexpected connection between a broken man and a lost child. As the morning progressed, Thomas realized he couldn't just walk away. Something inside him had awakened, a sense of purpose he thought had died with his previous life. He decided to help Emily, to ensure she was safe, to make sure she wasn't alone. It was a small decision, but it would change everything. The cold morning gradually gave way to a slightly warmer afternoon. Thomas contacted the local authorities, explained the situation, and waited with Emily until someone could properly assist her. He shared his thermos of hot tea with her, watching as some of the fear slowly left her eyes. In that moment, Thomas Williams, a man who had lost almost everything, found something he didn't even know he was searching for. A reason, a connection, a spark of hope. The universe, it seemed, worked in mysterious ways. Sometimes healing comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes when we feel most broken, we are actually closest to becoming whole again. And so began an unexpected journey of two souls, Thomas and Emily, who would gradually heal each other in ways neither could have imagined. The days following. Thomas's encounter with Emily moved like a slow-moving river, each moment carrying unexpected currents of change. Social services were overwhelmed, their systems tangled in bureaucratic red tape. Emily's situation highlighted the gaps in a system designed to protect children, but often failing them in critical moments. Thomas couldn't shake the memory of her frightened eyes. He began making calls, visiting local offices, asking questions that nobody seemed eager to answer. His determination surprised even himself. The man who had been living a life of quiet surrender was now fighting with unexpected passion. Local social workers initially viewed him with suspicion. A single man, recently unemployed, showing interest in a foster child's case. They asked countless questions, conducted background checks, and scrutinized every detail of his life. But Thomas remained patient. He understood that their caution came from a place of protection, not rejection. He shared stories of his own challenging childhood, his brief marriage, his experience working in community centers before the factory closed. Slowly they began to see him differently. Emily, meanwhile, had been temporarily placed in a group home. The facility was clean but impersonal. Rows of beds, shared spaces, children who looked more like shadows than living beings. She missed the brief moment of connection she had experienced with Thomas. One afternoon, a social worker named Margaret Thompson decided to dig deeper into Emily's case. She discovered a complex history of multiple foster placements, each lasting only a few months. Emily had never experienced a stable home, constantly moving between different families and care centers. Thomas's persistent inquiries caught Margaret's attention. She saw something genuine in his approach, not a man seeking personal gain, but someone truly concerned about a child's well-being. "Mr. Williams," Margaret said during one meeting, "Emily needs more than just a temporary solution. She needs stability, understanding, and genuine care." Thomas listened carefully. He understood that helping Emily wasn't about grand gestures, but consistent, patient support. His own life had taught him that healing wasn't a straight line, but a complicated journey with unexpected turns. The local community began to take notice. People who had seen Thomas's determination started sharing their own stories. A retired teacher offered to help with Emily's educational support. A local church group provided clothing and school supplies. Emily slowly began to change. The fear in her eyes started transforming into curiosity. She began asking questions, showing interest in learning, in understanding the world around her. Thomas would visit her, bringing simple gifts, a book, a drawing set, small tokens that showed someone cared. Margaret was impressed by Thomas's approach. He didn't try to replace her existing family or promise unrealistic dreams. Instead, he offered something far more valuable, consistent, genuine human connection. As weeks passed, a unique bond formed. Thomas wasn't trying to be a father or a savior. He was simply being a human who cared. He shared stories about his life, listened to her experiences, and created a safe space where Emily could be herself. The community watched this unexpected relationship develop. Some were skeptical initially, but most saw the genuine care and transformation happening before their eyes. Emily started smiling more. Her school reports showed improvement. She began talking about her dreams, something she had never done before. Thomas listened, encouraged, and supported her without judgment. One cold evening, as they sat in a local cafe drinking hot chocolate, Emily looked at Thomas and said something that would change everything. "You're the first person who ever made me feel like I matter." Those simple words carried the weight of years of loneliness, of feeling forgotten and unwanted. Thomas felt a lump in his throat, understanding that sometimes being present is the most profound act of love. Their connection wasn't perfect. It was messy, complicated, and real. But it was healing, not just for Emily, but for Thomas as well. In helping her find her path, he was slowly rediscovering his own. The journey had just begun, and neither of them knew where it would lead. But for the first time in years, both Thomas and Emily felt something they had almost forgotten: hope. The winter arrived harsh and unforgiving, much like the challenges Thomas and Emily were about to face. Their unexpected bond had begun attracting attention from various corners of the community, some supportive, others questioning. Local authorities continued to investigate Thomas's involvement with Emily. Background checks, interviews, and countless meetings became a routine part of their lives. Thomas remained patient, understanding that every question was ultimately about protecting children. Margaret Thompson, the social worker who had initially been skeptical, now became their strongest advocate. She saw something special in Thomas's approach, a genuine commitment that went beyond typical support systems. Emily's school performance began to improve dramatically. The once silent girl now asked questions, participated in class discussions, and showed a curiosity that had been dormant for years. Her teachers noticed the transformation, remarking on her newfound confidence. Thomas started attending community meetings, sharing his experiences with the foster care system. He spoke about the gaps he had witnessed, children falling through bureaucratic cracks, support systems that were more about paperwork than actual care. One cold Saturday morning, he organized a small support group for foster children and their caregivers. The local community center became a place of sharing, healing, and understanding. People who had felt isolated suddenly found a voice. Emily began helping Thomas prepare for these meetings. She would help arrange chairs, make simple refreshments, and gradually became comfortable around groups of people. Her confidence grew with each passing week. The local newspaper took notice. A small article appeared, highlighting Thomas's work with foster children. It wasn't a grand story, but a simple account of human compassion. The article brought both support and challenges. Some community members questioned Thomas's motivations. A single man, unemployed, spending time with a foster child. Rumors began to circulate. Thomas remained calm, letting his actions speak louder than any gossip. Margaret helped Thomas navigate these challenges. She provided documentation, supported his efforts, and ensured that everything was done through proper channels. Their partnership became a model of how support systems could work effectively. Emily's past continued to cast long shadows. Some days, she would become quiet, remembering previous difficult experiences. Thomas learned to be patient, to listen, without pushing, to provide a safe space for her emotions. He started taking classes on child psychology, understanding trauma, and support mechanisms. His unemployment became an opportunity for personal growth and learning. Every challenge became a fair chance to understand more deeply. The local council began to take notice. Thomas's approach was different, not about solving problems quickly, but about creating sustainable support systems. He spoke about prevention, about early intervention, about understanding each child's unique story. Winter slowly gave way to spring. Emily planted a small garden with Thomas, a metaphor for their own growth. Each seed represented hope, each sprout a testament to care and patience. They learned together about gardening, about life, about healing. Community support began to grow. More people started volunteering, sharing their own experiences, creating a network of support for foster children. Thomas had unknowingly started a movement, simply by caring. Financial challenges remained. Thomas's savings were minimal, and his job prospects seemed limited. But he discovered something more valuable than money, a sense of purpose that money they could never buy. Emily's social worker noted significant improvements. The once withdrawn child was now engaged, curious, and hopeful. Her reports highlighted not just academic improvement, but emotional growth. One evening, as they sat sharing a simple meal, Emily looked at Thomas and said, "I feel like I belong somewhere now." Those words carried the weight of years of uncertainty. Thomas felt a mix of emotions, pride, love, and a deep sense of responsibility. He understood that healing was a journey, not a destination. Their story was just beginning. Challenges would come, obstacles would appear. But they had something powerful, each other, and a community slowly learning to care. The spring sun set outside, casting a warm glow on their small kitchen. Hope, they were learning, could grow in the most unexpected places. The summer arrived, with unexpected opportunities, bringing changes that would reshape Thomas and Emily's lives in ways they never anticipated. Local community leaders had been watching Thomas's work with foster children, and his genuine commitment had not gone unnoticed. One warm morning, a letter arrived that would change everything. The community center offered Thomas a part-time position coordinating support programs for at-risk youth. It wasn't a high-paying job, but it was more than just employment. It was a chance to make a real difference. Emily was now 12, and her transformation continued to amaze everyone who knew her. The quiet, frightened child had become a confident, young girl with dreams and ambitions. She excelled in school, particularly in subjects that involved helping others, social studies, community projects, creative writing. Thomas's new role meant he could provide more structured support for children like Emily. He developed programs that focused on emotional support, educational assistance, and community integration. His personal experiences became his greatest teaching tool. The local government began to take notice. Thomas was invited to speak at conferences, sharing insights about the challenges faced by foster children. His approach was simple but powerful, seeing each child as a unique individual with potential, not just a case number. Margaret Thompson continued to support their journey. She helped Thomas navigate the complex world of social services, providing guidance and opening doors that seemed previously closed. Their professional relationship had grown into a genuine friendship. Emily started participating in community projects. She helped Thomas organize workshops, sharing her own experiences with other foster children. Her story became a beacon of hope for those who felt lost and forgotten. The Summer Community Center became a safe space for children who needed support. Thomas created programs that went beyond traditional support systems. Art classes, reading groups, mentorship programs, each designed to help children discover their potential. Financial challenges remained, but Thomas had learned to see opportunities where others saw obstacles. He wrote grant proposals, sought community sponsorships, and slowly built a network of support for his programs. Local businesses started getting involved. A bookstore donated books, a computer company provided second-hand laptops, local restaurants offered meal programs. The community was slowly understanding the importance of supporting vulnerable children. Emily's academic performance continued to improve. She became a student mentor, helping younger children who struggled with similar challenges. Her confidence was a testament to the power of consistent support and genuine care. Thomas found himself transformed as well. The man who had once felt defeated by life now walked with purpose. His unemployment had become a blessing in disguise, allowing him to discover a calling he never knew existed. The local newspaper did a follow-up story, highlighting the success of their community programs. Thomas and Emily were featured, their journey becoming an inspiration for others. They represented hope, proof that with support people could overcome significant challenges. Summer evenings became special times for Thomas and Emily. They would sit in their small garden, talking about dreams, discussing challenges, planning future projects. Their relationship had evolved beyond a simple connection. They were partners in creating change. Local schools began implementing some of Thomas's support strategies. His approach of seeing each child as an individual with unique potential was gaining recognition. Educators started asking for his advice, wanting to understand his methods. Emily's birthday became a community celebration. Friends, supporters, and community members gathered to recognize her journey. Thomas watched with pride, understanding that their story was about more than just two individuals. It was about community, support, and hope. As summer progressed, they continued to break barriers. Thomas's programs expanded, Emily's confidence grew, and the community became more aware of the challenges faced by foster children. One evening, watching the sunset, Emily turned to Thomas and said, "We're making a difference, aren't we?" Thomas smiled, understanding that their journey was just beginning. They had discovered something powerful, the ability to transform pain into purpose, isolation into community, and individual struggles into collective hope. The summer continued, full of promise, full of possibility. Their story was far from over. 5 years had passed since Thomas and Emily's unexpected journey began. The small industrial town had transformed, much like their own lives, becoming a beacon of hope for foster children and vulnerable youth. Thomas, now 40, had become a respected community advocate. His programs had expanded beyond local boundaries, attracting national attention. What started as a personal mission had become a movement of compassion and support. Emily was 17 now, preparing for university. She had chosen to study social work, inspired by her own journey and Thomas's guidance. Her passion for helping others burned bright, a direct result of the support she had received. The community center they had once struggled to build now stood as a testament to their dedication. Multiple programs ran simultaneously: educational support, mentorship initiatives, creative workshops, and emotional support groups. Each program carried the DNA of Thomas and Emily's original vision. Local government officials now sought Thomas's advice on child welfare policies. His practical, compassionate approach had proven more effective than complex bureaucratic systems. He spoke not from theoretical knowledge, but from genuine lived experience. Emily had become a powerful speaker, sharing her story at schools and community events. She talked about resilience, hope, and the importance of consistent support. Her words resonated with children who felt lost and forgotten. Their relationship had evolved into a unique partnership. Thomas was no longer just a guardian or mentor, but a trusted friend and guide. Emily saw him as family, the family she had never known but always needed. The summer community programs had become a model for other towns. Schools and social services from different regions visited to understand their approach. Thomas's method was simple: treat each child as an individual with unlimited potential. Financial. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable had transformed. Grants, community support, and strategic partnerships provided sustainable funding. What began as a personal mission was now a recognized social initiative. Emily's academic achievements were remarkable. Top grades, multiple scholarships, and leadership positions in school projects marked her journey. But more importantly, she carried a sense of hope and purpose that defined her character. Thomas reflected on their journey during quiet moments. The man who had once felt defeated by life now stood as a symbol of transformation. His own pain had become a source of healing for countless children. The local newspaper did a special feature on their story. "From Broken to Brilliant" was the headline, capturing the essence of their incredible journey. Thomas and Emily's story became an inspiration, proving that compassion could indeed change lives. Community members who had once been skeptical now celebrated their achievements. Local businesses, schools, and community organizations became active supporters of their initiatives. What seemed impossible 5 years ago was now a reality. Emily's 18th birthday became a community celebration. People from various parts of their journey gathered. Social workers, community leaders, children they had helped, families who had been transformed by their work. During the celebration, Emily gave a speech that left no dry eye in the room. She spoke about hope, about the power of believing in someone when no one else does. She thanked Thomas, not just as a guardian, but as the person who gave her a chance to dream. Thomas listened, his heart full of emotions. He thought about the cold morning years ago when he first met Emily, two lost souls who had found purpose in each other's stories. Their journey proved that healing wasn't about grand gestures, but consistent, genuine care. It showed that one person's compassion could create ripples of change far beyond their immediate circumstances. As the celebration continued, Thomas and Emily looked at each other, understanding that their story was far from over. They had created something bigger than themselves, a community of hope, support, and endless possibility. The sun set on another beautiful day, casting a warm glow on their small town. Their journey had transformed not just individual lives, but an entire community's understanding of care, support, and human potential. Hope, they had learned, could grow in the most unexpected places.